everyone. It is I, Bulbacast's massively egotistical host, Maniacal Engineer. But wait! As I mentioned at the end of the last episode, we're actually doing something a little different this time. Because the Bulbagarden staff hails from around the globe, we were confining ourselves to only a few hours every weekend, trying to fit in one recording session for everybody. As such, due to schedules and people actually having lives outside of the forum, we were limited in the number of people who could join us. So now, for most episodes, we will have separate recordings for the European time zones and American time zones. Both groups will discuss the same topics, and hopefully we'll get a few new faces to join us as a result. Every 4 recordings or so, we'll have another joint recording session with both the European and American staffers. Wow, that was a long introduction. In any case, with all that out of the way, let's actually get to today's topic. Be it Bulbapedia, Bulba News, the Bulbagarden forums, Discord, or other projects, all of the Bulbagarden staffers have one thing in common. We all love Pokemon. Today, we will discuss our experiences with the Pokemon video games, but before we can get to any of that, I need to introduce the panelists here with me today. This time we'll start with our newcomer, Midorikawa.
Hello.
Would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Kind of getting stared at by dogs. I'm not sure what to say.
Well, who are you and what is it that you do on the forum?
I'm probably most known about the Mafia section, especially for my play as a Mafia member. Currently a mod of RP and the video games section.
All right, excellent. And joining us from previous podcasts, Glik is back.
Hello,
Say hi,
I'm
Glik.
Glik. I was saying hi. Hello, I'm Glik. I work for Bulbapedia.
And last but not least is Dragon Nataku.
Hi guys, it's me again, Discord mod and forums mod.
Alrighty, and so let's jump right into our first question. What was your very first Pokemon game? Glik, how about you?
I got Pokemon Red. I believe I was 4, just to turn 4, because I had gotten it for Christmas, along with the Game Boy Color. First time I play it, I recall trying to go through with Charmander, and after tortuously trying to beat Brock, only to get to Misty, and get my butt handed to me again, I gave up and restarted and chose Bulbasaur.
The wise choice.
I was 4. I'm allowed to go to easy mode if I'm 4.
Aww.
Absolutely. Deanne, what about you?
I'm in the weird situation where I grew up in a third world country that had no concept of handheld games.
Canada?
So I didn't. Maybe. Yeah, El Salvador. So I actually didn't even know. Like, we had the television series, but I didn't even know they had games until XY came out in 2014. After which I bought literally every single Pokemon game and started with Blue.
So when you first heard about X and Y, were you like, "Oh wow, this old anime finally got a game"?
Well, my friend had to patiently explain to me that yes, there have been games before the show existed. I was like, really? Really? Are you sure?
Yeah, games A through W.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of went on a shopping spree and bought all of the main series games. Like, all of them. Like, red, blue, green, yellow, leaf, like, all the versions, too. So, I don't know.
And which one is your favorite?
My favorite is actually Soul Silver, because that's the first one I actually finished. And I don't know, I thought the sprites were cute. I loved, like, the walking Pokemon. I wish they would bring that back. And yeah, I don't know, I really liked Johto for some reason.
Alright, and Midori, what about you?
Not entirely sure. I think the first time I played a Pokemon game was back when my brothers lived in New York, we were visiting, and I think he had gold version or something. But the first one I really remember playing was Saphir version. It was also the first one I actually beat the Elite Four on, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, my first game was Pokemon Red version. I don't remember how old I was at the time, but I remember getting it right at the end of the Game Boy Pocket era. And I think it actually did work with the Pocket, and I eventually got a Game Boy Color and was like, oh my god, it's actually red. So, you know, I played through it, and I chose Charmander as my very first starter as well. And of course, like Glik said, you got Brock and then you got Misty, so it really was the hard mode. And, you know, being a little kid, again, I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I was, you know, that was 20-ish, a little less than 20 years ago, so, you know, I was young. You know, I didn't have any concept of what the type chart would look like. I really didn't have any concept of a lot of the core mechanics of the game. And, you know, back then, you know, I actually taught my Charizard Cut, which is blasphemy these days. So, you know, it's really, you know, as a kid, I appreciated the game, but it you know, you appreciate it even more when you get older and things get more complex. Now, you know, of course, it was the big quote-unquote thing to know about Missingno in those days, and I found out about him, you know, very, very quickly with the old man glitch, and, you know, I cheated. My very first Pokemon to get to level 100 was pretty much every single game in Pokemon in Red version because of rare candies duplicated by the old man glitch. So, you know, no concept of IVs, no concept of EVs, you know, none of that. Just like spam rare candies to get to level 100, and that's kind of how I was able to beat the game, despite being a little kid and not understanding any of the complexities to it. And that's, you know, yeah, it's one of the reasons why I actually still will look back on Red version and Blue version so fondly, even all these years later. Is, you know, I beat the game by exploiting a glitch.
Is that why you're called Maniacal Engineer?
No, I'm called Maniacal Engineer. We'll get to that later. That's going to be another part of this podcast for sure. But we're not quite there yet. Anyway, so my next question, and I kind of jumped the gun on this with the end, but we'll go through your favorite Pokemon games now. So, you know, we've had our stories with the first Pokemon games. Now we'll talk about our favorite Pokemon games. We'll start with Midori this time.
That's actually difficult. I have a soft spot for Heart Gold because once I finally had an actual DS, that was the first one I played and named my character after myself and everything, and it's just that connection with those Pokemon walking. But I also just love Black and White, because I just love the story, the characters, Snivy line. So it's like a tie between those two games for me.
All right, that's definitely fair. Glik, what about you?
It'd be really hard for me to choose a favorite. If I'd go by sheer number of times I've played it, it would be Sapphire. I've gone through that game about a dozen times. But the one I think I actually had the most fun playing it is probably Black 2, which is actually the one I've played the least. I beat the entire game in a week because it was the week before X and Y came out, and I had to get it done.
Yeah.
But then Soul Silver is also got a soft spot for. Really hard to choose one over the other.
Definitely fair. Also, I hope you all realize we're not just talking main series games here. So if
I haven't played much of the side series, like, at least I've never beaten any, so.
I've played about at least one entry of the Mystery Dungeon games from every generation. I've only beaten the Blue Rescue Team, though. The ones later down the line just didn't really draw me in as much as the first one.
Yeah, I played Coliseum a bit. I didn't finish it yet, but I've also played Go, and I played one of the Ranger games. I don't remember which one it was though. That's about it for side series.
Oh, you never played Conquest? Come on.
I actually have that. I only played about a couple hours into it because it's the first mission story thing you have to do in that is aggressively slow.
Yeah, it starts off a bit slow, but it's good for people who are also fans of the Fire Emblem series because it's kind of like that same style of play.
A pity RQ isn't here to elaborate on that. In any case, I've said it numerous times in previous recordings, but I'll reiterate. My favorite Pokemon game of all times is Pokemon Platinum version. You know, I went through a time when I was kind of... You know, I'd stepped away from the Pokemon series for a while. You know, I wasn't watching the anime. I wasn't playing any of the games. You know, I'd kind of taken a step back after Fire Red and Leaf Green were kind of disappointments for me. You know, don't get me wrong. They were decent remakes for Red version and Blue version. But, you know, like I said in this past, you know, in this recording, my favorite part of Red is missing No, and they kind of removed it. So, you know, understandably so. But in any case, so, you know, I'd kind of taken a step back, and I didn't play Diamond or Pearl version, which was unusual because until then, you know, I'd played pretty much every single main series Pokemon game that showed up. And then, you know, I happened to see an episode of the anime that featured Team Galactic and their goal to create an alternate universe. And that kind of sparked something in me, you know, the little bit of knowledge I had with regards to antimatter and alternate universes at the time, and I took a look and I started watching the anime a little bit more, and I was like, hey, you know, I actually like these villains. Let's see how they do in a game. And I bought Platinum, and I played through it, and I was like, hey, the starters are awesome. You know, the game is physically a bit slower than what I was used to with the Gen 3 games, but I loved the story, I loved the villains, and, you know, even though the science is really not accurate, I love what they tried to do, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, I absolutely love the distortion world. You know, if I had played Diamond or Pearl, I probably would have just stopped playing Pokemon right then and there because, you know, it would have felt like they wasted all that potential. But no, with Platinum, they really had the distortion world, and they had, you know, so much post-game content, and it didn't hurt that, you know, in a couple of times when playing through Platinum, I found a shiny Rotom after resetting only a couple of times, so
nice.
That always helps.
That's why your avatar is Giratina, right?
That's DN, not me. I'm Metagross. No, but I do love Giratina. I do love the concept of the antimatter universe that's the distortion world, and I love pretty much everything that Platinum does, except for, you know, the physical speed of the character and all of the general slowness of the game. But, you know, I love it. You know, as far as other games go, you know, Red and Blue will always hold a special place in my heart because of Missing No. I love the Gen 2 games and their remakes because you can actually go and get 16 gym badges, which is something you can't do in any other game. And you know, they were the first sequel games. I love the Gen 3 games because there's, you know, Hoenn is my favorite region because of how diverse they made it. I loved, you know, I played through Black version for the first time, and I made it up until the 7th gym, got bored and stopped playing. I was then advised to continue playing, and after the 7th gym, things really started to pick up, and I love the story in Black and White now. And of course, I love the sequel idea with Black 2 and White 2. Gen 6 overall was a fairly big disappointment to me, but that's something else entirely. And I've loved Sun, Moon, and Ultra Moon so far. So I really, as far as the main series games go, I like most of the generations really really well. As far as side games go, my favorite character from any Pokemon game at all has got to be Mirror B. He's so wacky, and I love that they brought him back from Coliseum into XD. And that afro, yo.
Yeah, that took me forever to realize it was a Pokeball. Somebody had to point it out to me. I was like, oh.
Plus
he also has a great taste in Pokemon.
He does. Ludicolo is very good. He also has really good battle music in both games. But in any case, that's it for that question. So I guess we've talked about our favorite Pokemon game. What about our favorite Pokemon in general? What is your favorite Pokemon? And I realize, there are a lot of them. Narrowing it down to one might not be possible. But let's try. To give the rest of you guys a chance to think for a moment. I'll go first on this one. My absolute favorite Pokemon is Metagross. And the reason is fairly simple. First of all, before Gen 6 came around and utterly nerfed Steel types for no good reason with regards to their weaknesses their resistances to Dark and Ghost, Metagross was still is Steel Psychic type, and that resists a lot. The Steel type covered a lot of its Psychic type weaknesses, and the Psychic type covered its weakness to fighting. So, it had very few weaknesses. It's powerful, it's a very good, powerful physical attacker with great stats. But the main reason that I love it is it's basically a cross between a supercomputer and a killer robot. And that's, being a guy in automation, that's just, my perfect... My perfect Pokemon is the killer death robot that has 4 supercomputer brains. It also helps that I really love how it looks, both the regular form and the shiny form. And I think that in this case it's obvious because that's my avatar for Bulbacast. But that's my favorite Pokemon, why I love it. Others of my favorites are the Clink family. I know I know that's a very controversial choice, but I do like the idea of Clockwork and Gears, and I really think that there was a lot of wasted potential with that design, but I do overall love the concept of it. Porygon Z is absolutely amazing. It's a computer virus given Pokemon form. So yeah, I do like a lot of the more quote-unquote technical Pokemon, which does really fit my background. In any case, that's enough of me blabbering. I'm the host. I'm not supposed to steal the show. So DN, let's start with you. Well, let's go on to you.
Well, my avatar may be the Majestic Space Centipede, but I really like the cute Pokemon. Like, all the evolutions are my favorite. I'm sure many of you have seen my couch picture that ABC Boy might actually put into this video when it comes out.
We haven't actually seen your couch. We've seen the things on it.
I might need a bigger couch, yes. I have like 12... 20, the number goes higher, of evolutions. So yeah, evolutions are my favorite, and Vaporeon is my favorite of all of them. I have like a giant Vaporeon plushie.
Alrighty. Glik, what about you?
My favorite Pokemon is the one I'm using as an avatar for the Bulbacast, Ludicolo. It's a happy, dancing, furry pineapple duck. What's there not to love about it?
Its typing is great too. I love the grass water typing.
Yes, that's actually why I came to love it, because I really like the grass type. Glass type isn't in yet. Wait for Generation 8 on that. But in Sapphire, in Sapphire specifically, the Lotad line lets you create an all-grass team and not actually need like an HM slave another type. So you can just actually go the whole game with nothing but grass types, specifically because Ludicolo can learn Surf. So
and Tropius can learn Fly.
That's not necessary, but true.
Mm.
But I've probably gone through that game 5 times with just grass types over and over, and Ludicolo's always there with his Surf. And his bulk is really helpful, especially against the Fortree Winona.
Yep. I tried an Alpha Sapphire. I tried to do an all Ludicolo run, where I named myself Mirror B and was trying to do an all Ludicolo run. I hatched a shiny Lotad for that. I never actually finished. Like I said, the gen. Well, I was too busy dancing. Yes. All right, and Midori, what about you?
So I got my start with Pokemon through the anime, and when I saw the first movie, I fell in love with Mewtwo, because he was just so sad but adorable. And since I wasn't playing the games growing up, I just had the anime. I used to just play as Mewtwo. I'd put olives on my fingers and pretend I was him. My brother and I even recorded a video thing once. So I even had the name MWTO to stand for Mewtwo when I joined the forum. So even to this day, even though I love other Pokemon like Eevee and Snivy and Rowlet, he's probably going to always remain my favorite Pokemon because it's just such a big part of my childhood. I don't really like his Mega Evolutions, though.
Mewtwo is an excellent choice. He's another one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Again, the genetic component of him and his backstory, both in the anime and the first movie, are absolutely amazing. Plus, he was the first Pokemon ever seen in pretty much all of the anime outside of Japan because of the intro.
Oh yeah, it was either him or Mew. I can't remember the exact order.
It's both of them. It's
Mewtwo. It's both,
but
yeah.
Mewtwo shows up first. Just barely, but he does. So yeah, that's, again, an excellent choice. Then again, they're all excellent, except, well, I suppose that 2 Pokemon are more excellent than the others, and that would be Execute and Executor, but had to get at least one pun in somewhere.
What about Chansey?
I think there's a risk involved in that one. All right, so I guess we've gone through all of that. How about your fondest memories playing the Pokemon games? What happened? What have you done? What experiences have you had within the Pokemon games that you'll treasure forever, or that you'll remember forever, or that really stick with you? Glik, what about you?
Sorry, repeat the question. I was typing.
The question is, what is your fondest memories playing the Pokemon games?
Fondest overall memory. Ooh. That's a hard one. I think I'd have to go with the week I just blazed through Black 2 in preparation for X and Y. Because I had Pearl and Soul Silver for quite a few years. Like, all the way through Gen 5, I didn't pick those games up until the month before Gen 6 started. And so I bought them to try and get through them really quick. And Black and White I really didn't like. I didn't like all the new Pokemon, most of which were crap. I didn't like how simple the game was, where it constantly gives you Pokemon that are good against the next gym leader immediately before the first gym leader. I didn't like the team. I didn't like N. I didn't like how openly evil Team Plasma was, but was still being treated like they were goody two-shoes. It really bogged me down. And like that entire month was trying to get through that game. And it's just, I don't like it. So when I finally get to Black 2 and White 2, all of my problems pretty much got erased. They brought back old Pokemon. They made Team Plasma interesting. Or, well, interesting, they pretty much just made them Super Sentai villains, but I like that. They actually made it a bit more difficult than last time, even without the challenge mode. It wasn't just breezing through. Like in Black and White, I just caught all the Pokemon you can catch in the desert resort and beat that game with them all at level 45 because they're so broken.
Yep.
And then in Black 2 and White 2, you actually have to try.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually, going from trying to go through Black and White as a slog for 3 weeks and not enjoying myself, and then just a week of probably the most fun I've had with the Pokemon game, it really sticks in my mind as probably the best time I've had with Pokemon.
Fantastic. Deanne, what about you?
First, there's a funny story that I will always remember. So I got addicted to Wonder Trading when XY first came out, because like I went from Heart Gold and Soul Silver to XY, so I was missing all of these other Pokemon. I had no idea what they were, and so I was like, oh, look at all these cool Pokemon I'm getting through Wonder Trade. And I will never forget the moment where an very obviously hacked shiny Ludicolo came in over Wonder Trade with the nickname Ludi YOLO. I still have that thing. It will never leave my I'm never gonna get rid of it. I love that thing. But I guess my fondest memory would be in XY, where I bred like an entire team of evolutions, and I just went through the game with just these adorable, fluffy little things destroying everything.
Don't mess with the adorable, fluffy evolutions.
Yes.
I want to do an evolution playthrough sometime.
You should. It's hilarious.
And Midori, what about you?
Probably gonna be my team in Heart Gold, because I went through that game. I mean, I technically still haven't beaten Red or anything, but I went through that game without evolving my Totodile. And I got my Eevee from Bill was female, so I just, like, originally I planned on evolving into an Umbreon, but it was female, so I decided an Espeon, and it was just on a whim I named it after my dog. And Eevee, that Espeon's personality in the game was the exact same as my dog's. I'm not kidding. They both were mean to me.
Ooh.
Yeah, but it was just so my whole team, like, I just had fun. I just imagined head cannons for, like, I tossed my Espeon in Sandslash, because I didn't really look on the internet for the game information and stuff at that time much. So I tossed them in the daycare for some reason and popping out eggs. So I just formed head cannons about my Pokemon. This is my first time getting a shiny, even though it was just a Gyarados. I had never gotten a shiny before, because this was basically my first time really playing the series. First time I was really getting into the series, getting every game from that one onwards.
Nice. So, I guess my fondest Pokemon memory is actually a very recent one. It Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon came out back in November, and I had been having a very, very rough week that week that Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon came out on a Friday. And, I started playing Ultra Moon when I got it. And, as if the Pokemon gods themselves were trying to cheer me up out of the rough week that I'd been having. An hour in was when I found my shiny Pikipek, and then that, it started kind of turning things around. And, I know it's such a small thing, but, finding that shiny Pikipek really did cheer me up, and it really did manage to break the funk that I had been in, because of the really bad week that I had been having. And that's going to stick in my mind for quite a while. It's also the first random shiny Pokemon that I've ever found in the wild without resetting. I did reset for that shiny Rotom a few times, and I did, have one or two other shinies before that, like the shiny Lotad that I bred. But this was the first time that I actually encountered a shiny in the wild that I could actually catch. I suppose I did encounter a few shinies before I was able to get Pokeballs in Sapphire version, but it really, it meant a lot to me that 1 week that was just a horrible week that, just starting this game, I found a shiny Pikipek. And again, it's such a small thing that a lot of people might not consider significant, but for me at that time, it was just what I needed. So I guess that's a little more sentimental, but yeah. So that's that. Other than that, I really do have fond memories from most of the Pokemon games that I've played throughout the years. But that one will forever be the one that I cherish the most, just because of how how much that meant to me at that particular given moment. Of course, it led to me being a maniac about shinies for the first time in any game, which led to me hatching over 1,100 eggs with the Masuda method before finally finding my shiny Sandygast, but so be it. In any case, that's my fondest Pokemon memory. Yeah, so with that, we're on to our final question. This one, it's tangential to the Pokemon games, but it probably won't hurt. A little more personal. What brought you to the Bulbagarden community? Obviously, each and every one of us is a staff member here in some capacity. All of us are part of the Bulbagarden community at large. So, how did you show up here? What brought you to Bulbagarden? Where did you start in Bulbagarden? And how did you get where you are now? DN, we'll start with you.
So the same friend who was like, hey, guess what? There are Pokemon games. After he found out that I didn't know about any of them and had bought all of them, he was like, you're gonna need Bulbapedia to help you out. So he linked me to the Pedia, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing! And it had like everything that I could ever want on it. And so I used that for a while. I'm not sure how long after that I ended up on the forums, but I remember I had a question about some event Pokemon, and then I kind of ended up staying. And now you can't get rid of me.
Not that we want to. All right, Glik, what about you?
Go on to Midori, because I'm going through my BP history, see exactly what I was doing when I first joined.
All right, that's fair. Midori, what about you?
I think I joined back when Black 2 and White 2 was coming out because I heard about the PWT, and I was curious if Misty was going to come back in the anime, and somehow that led me to the forums. I mostly got started, I think, in the anime section, but I quickly switched over to fun and games. And then eventually the Warrior, where I became the Master Scum Lord, as everyone knows.
Until I showed up.
No, you forget that I bust you in any game we've been together. Or at least tried to.
I thought we've been on the same team most of the time.
Yeah, I bust you in the 100, remember?
You did. Only because I was playing horribly.
That was just crappy luck. But yeah, so I originally joined, because I was curious if Mystery's come back to anime, because I've always been a big Poke shipper, so. Yeah, that's my story.
Alright, Glik, you about ready by now?
Not great.
Well, if he's not ready, I can go through my tragic backstory on Bulbagarden.
Oh, that'd be good.
Well, I did mention at some point earlier in this cast, we'd figure out why I'm nicknamed Maniacal Engineer. So I guess I joined the forum in late 2014, right around when Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire were going to be released. I joined because I'd been aware of Bulbapedia for quite a while. I'd been using it for a lot of my in-game research. I'd been using it to figure out base stats and all that stuff. It's how I learned about EVs and IVs and natures. So I had been using Bulbapedia for a while. And I noticed, in November of 2014, that they were having a contest that they were giving out as prizes a copy of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So I said, you know what? Let me try it out. So I created a forum account, and I joined the contest. And, I had kind of intended for it to maybe be a one-and-done thing. I didn't think I'd be going back to forums anytime soon. But, I decided to stick around, and I joined under the username Random Punster, just because I like puns, and I guess that was the first impression everybody ever got of me. And it's going to be the last impression also, but that's a story for another time. But so I joined as Random Punster, and I posted in the Garden Grotto, hey, what kind of things are there to do here? And someone pointed me in the direction of the Fun and Games section, and, well, the the rest is history. I started posting around the Fun and Games section. I stuck around. I was playing Last Post Wins quite a bit. I was the top poster in Up versus Down quite a bit, even though I lost quite a few times. I just became a regular user. I think at one point in March of 2015, I decided that Random Punster needed to go. The name was far too limiting. It was kind of sticking me in this one, I'm the pun guy. And that was about it. So I killed off Random Punster by, if I remember correctly, I invaded the random messages thread with Daleks and then subsequently saved everybody by absorbing the time stream. Anyway, Random Punster died, and I came back a few days later as Maniacal Engineer. Now, why I chose the name Maniacal Engineer, it's still a pun. Because, my actual degree, like I mentioned last time, it's mechanical engineering, but it also allows me, well, first of all, it also gives me the initials ME, which, again, like I said, I am massively egotistical. Only someone with a massive ego would call himself ME. So, that was another thing that I liked. And again, it brought in my science background, and it kept some of the insanity that Random Punster had. So, I like the name. I'm sticking with it. It's a good name. Anyway, I was quite a troublemaker when I first was when I first was in the Fun and Games section. And in what I consider to be my very first Mafia game ever, I caused enough trouble that resulted in a rule being created for the War Room. I had played Protagonist's Mafia before Random Messages Mafia, but I don't consider that to be my first actual game, because I was joke voted off on day one just because I was me. So, in Random Messages Mafia, was the first game that I played. It was also the first game that I survived past day one. And I was going to be lynched on day two. And I asked the host, who was Zexy, I asked him, is there any rule about going back and editing my posts? And at the time, there was not. So I actually went back and I edited a lot of my posts to say 404 post not found. And, I didn't really do it to hide anything. I did it because I knew they'd go back and check my posts to see if they could connect me to anybody and find my teammates. And I did it just to mess with people. I was a troublemaker. And, that caused some trouble later on in the game. And, eventually it did result in the no post editing allowed rule being made. So I did result in that rule being written in the War Room, in one of my very first games there. Since then I've calmed down quite a bit. And I did actually stop causing trouble long enough for NZAP to actually consider hiring me as a staff member of Fun and Games. And now, for whatever reason, I am an administrator. I think, like Glik said a couple of episodes ago, yeah, they probably were desperate. So that's my backstory and how I came to Bulbagarden and kind of ended up where I am now. Glik, are you finally ready now? I've been stalling long enough.
Stop being a diva,
Yeah.
Glik.
All right, Glik, have at it.
All right. Thanks for stalling for me. I was running through the 17,000 edits I've done on Bulbapedia, trying to get back to when I first started. It seems I just started editing things in regards to X and Y. I had joined the Pedia probably a couple weeks earlier, about when X and Y had come out. Because when new games come out, the Pedia gets locked down, so the staff can update templates, get a handle on all the new things that need to be added, so editors can put the information in, so they're not just throwing all the information at the pages in a giant mess.
That's fair.
So I joined up about that time, and when they had unlocked it, I apparently just saw what some of the other staff members were doing for updating pages and started following along with them. And just do that eventually until they asked me to join staff, I guess.
Fair enough.
What probably helped was joining the TCG section, which had all of 2 editors, both of which were staff at the time. And since I joined, we now have 3 editors of the section.
Yay!
Impressive.
Woohoo!
Congratulations.
So am I the one that's been here the longest? I've been since 2012. Out of curiosity.
You probably are. I mean, I've only been here, what?
You said 2014. Yeah, you said 2014. Glik just said like the same time.
2013.
Yeah.
Mine is 2015, so I'm the youngest.
Wow. I'm the newest mod. I feel old in a weird way.
You can't feel old with me around. I'm like 34.
Well, now I feel young.
You're also younger than me, Midori.
I don't know if I'm younger than Glik, though.
I don't know how old you are, so I don't know.
23.
Yes, you're younger.
Ah, she's so cute.
So you joined when you were 12?
What? No, I think I was probably like 18 or something. I don't know, it was 2012. 6 years ago. I think it was like 17.
Well, if you're 23 now and you joined 6 years ago, yes, you probably were 17.
Yeah, I think 17.
Math. Nah.
I
Too much
like
effort.
math.
I hate math. I have to take calculus. Fix it. Somebody fix it.
Matt, me was talking about his username. I'm kind of curious how everyone got their current usernames now.
Well, I've had the same username since like 2001. Probably before a lot of people were born. Basically, I was a big, huge Gundam Wing fanboy back in the day, and so Chang Wu-Fei's Gundam is named Shenlong and Altron, and they are both dragons, and he nicknames them both Nataku after his dead wife. So,
Well, isn't that pleasant?
Yes, I know. I'm a very pleasant person. I was gonna make a joke about leaving Cyrus in the distortion world to starve to death, but I decided not to. But here we are, and I'm anyway.
I mean, technically, if no time passes in the distortion world, Cyrus can't starve to death because he doesn't get hungry?
Why do you dreams?
Wow, violent much? Well, I know, like I said, mine was originally MWTO, and I watched a series called Inazuma 11, and one of the characters was like, "Hi, my name's Midorikawa. Nice to meet you," or something like that. I forgot the exact words. So I decided to mess with some of my friends on BMG, changed my username, went to their visitor messages page back when we were with V Bolton, and just like, "Hi, I'm a new user," and just posted a gif of the character saying that. And after that, I don't know, it kind of just stuck. Now it's one of my standard usernames in places.
Yeah, when you tried to change your name to Wolf Owl, we all revolted.
No, you didn't. People were actually a little mixed on that, but people preferred Midorikawa because I've just been Midorikawa for so long. I think I changed it like back in 2012 or 2013, so it's been my longest username. I've tried other ones, but this one stuck. Oh, look who's here.
About
damn time. We've been stalling for long enough.
Hey, Glik, you still tell your story.
No, hold on. I'll lead him in. My username is just onomatopoeia for like a pin click. You know those real cheap pens. You click once, then you hit the little tab thingy on the top.
So you're cheap?
Yes, I'm very cheap. Cheap, disposable, and permanent.
And that's a good introduction to say that Rocket Queen has now joined us. Hi, RQ.
Hello.
Hey, I just got into Boston about half an hour ago, so that's fun. So I heard the topic was usernames, which I have quite a bit of a history there.
Yes, you do.
I think all three. I think all four of us actually call you something different.
Yeah,
I think we do.
I think pretty much everyone in the staff has met me when I had a different username. So I guess I'll start. Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I kind of go by Rocket Queen or Q now. The sort of motivation for that is I love Overwatch, and I love Pharah even more. Before that, I was Hanzo for a while. And again, because I control and pretend I was a Hanzo main, because everyone loves Hanzo mains. And let's see, before that, I was a bunch of the Ruby cast. I was Blake for a while, I was Yang for a while, I was Coco for a while, and then the name that a lot of people know me as is Hips, aka Hide in Plain Sight. That was like my 2012, 2013 kind of handle. So I've really bounced around. As for when I joined the site, I joined in January of 2009. And
Christ.
I know, I'm old. I became RP staff in 2010. And I think by 2012, I was RP head and SMod, and then eventually went from admin to deputy head admin to head of Discord to head of social media, and my current title of social media, whatever, head of social media, I guess, or social media coordinator, and deputy chief of staff. So it's been an interesting ride.
It has been. Okay. Well, with that special RQ cameo, I think that's about it for this part of the podcast. Now, I'm going to hand things off to SoaringDylan, who will be hosting the second part of the podcast, which was ironically recorded first, but he forgot to introduce himself. So here we go, SoaringDylan.
Welcome everyone to yet another episode of the Bulbacast. Today, we'll be taking a deep dive into history, something not a lot of people talk about. But we'll spice it up a little, plus we'll be talking about our experience with the Pokemon franchise. But before we get started, let's introduce our guest for today. Chris, if you want to take the lead.
Hello everyone, it's me, Cresselia92. This will be my first time talking here with these fellow Pokemon fans, so let's hope to have a fun time, everyone.
No.
I am noworry. I was in some of the past podcasts, so yeah, hi.
And bonjour, Saphir here once again.
So, for today, like I said, we'll be talking about our experience with the Pokemon games, and let's start off with what our first Pokemon game was. For me, I actually don't remember, because my first Pokemon game was when I was like 5-6 years old. It was on the Game Boy Color that I remember, and it was either red, blue, or yellow. I believe I got all three at the same time. I definitely have more memories of playing Yellow because having only Pikachu at Brock in the first gym is kind of problematic, to say the least, especially if you're unable to read English. You have no idea what you're doing. It's either of those three games, and play all games right now, so...
Alright. Well, my first Pokemon game was Pokemon Red. I remember getting it for Christmas, I think. Basically, I had asked to my dad, Dad, please, can you give me Pokemon Green? Because a friend of mine had told me, oh, you know that in Pokemon Green you can travel with Ash and company. And of course I was only a child, so I believed that it was true. However, it just got me Pokemon Red, which I like it. I got a Bulbasaur, I did many mistakes because, well, I was only 6, more or less. So, but I had a lot of fun. It was only with Pokemon Silver that I truly understood how to play a Pokemon game. And that was my very first experience playing the game. It was really nice, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I understood how to play Pokemon until like Generation 3 or 4. I remember beating the league for the first time in Gen 3.
I didn't know how to save. My first game was Silver, or I borrowed Silver from a neighbor, so it wasn't mine, but I played it and I didn't know how to save the game, so I just restart over and over with different starters, and I was really surprised the first time some of them evolved. And then I was sad because I didn't save, so yeah. And the first game I owned was Soul Silver because I saw Lugia on the package. So yeah.
Well, my first Pokemon game was Pokemon Red, which was bought to me by my grandma. And yeah, I didn't know how to save at first, so I wasn't going far anyway, because I didn't understand what I was doing. But I managed to beat Brock at some point. I don't know how. And yeah, that's about the furthest I got in Red the first time I played it. Then I got at least one of each gen since then.
Yeah, I don't remember how I figured out how to save. I'm pretty sure I didn't understand it either in the beginning. But at some point I just remember restarting the game because I got like stuck at Brock or stuck at Misty with Pokemon that just couldn't beat it.
I asked my dad to translate it so I could figure out how to save the game and what I was supposed to do. I didn't know anything.
Yeah, I did the same with my mom, but she didn't know English that well. So it was still kind of problematic. It was like, okay, there's something about going somewhere here, but I have no idea what this is. Good luck.
Yeah, I didn't know English well until I was like 12. Before that, it was really confusing.
I remember in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, that's what I loved Swampert, and every time I picked him, I thought that Muddy Water was stronger than Surf because Surf was already in all the other games, and Muddy Water had a higher chance to miss. So it's like, oh, if it has higher chance to miss, it must be stronger, right? And it had a new color; it was brown instead of blue. Must be stronger. It was weaker. I figured that out like years later.
I had a lot of Typhlosion with 4 fire type attacks, strong attacks, because I thought that was the best way to beat people with. It didn't work out well.
Typhlosion was really good. I remember using Typhlosion in Silver, I think. And I used it to spam flamethrower after flamethrower, and it destroyed everything. I really loved Typhlosion. However, there were also some matches that it lost because I simply wasn't very experienced at the time. But it was my most valuable player for sure.
Yeah, I just had Typhlosion. I didn't need anything else.
So did you guys also just all run one Pokemon back in the day and maybe a few HM slaves to get through the world?
Yeah, I didn't know you can box things either, so I just had a bunch of Pokemon I caught by accident and then Typhlosion.
I always try to keep the 6 Pokemon at an even level, and I still do.
I do that now, but
Usually for me, it was my starter was like about 10 levels ahead of everything, and then I had like this secondary Pokemon that would just go hand in hand with my starter. Like if my starter couldn't handle a grass type attack, for example with Swampert, I would get a flying type like a Swallow and train that one up to at least be able to take a hit and at least do some damage. And all the others were just HM slaves. So, on to the next question. What is your guys' favorite Pokemon? And why is that so?
Embryon. I don't know why. It reminds me a bit of my old dog, and I didn't like it at first at all. I thought it was annoying, and I remember one of the Elite Four in Silver and Soul Silver had an Embryon, and I just thought it was really annoying. And then I got one for myself, and I really started to like it. So now it's my favorite.
Well, mine's Dragonair, obviously, because it's so beautiful, and also it's beautiful. So yeah, Dragonair.
It's only that it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful and beautiful.
There's no special story behind this one.
No, just beautiful and beautiful.
I have actually changed my favorite throughout all this time. My first favorite was Rapidash because I really love horses and I loved his fiery mane and everything. Then I changed it to Mew because I find it so cute, an adorable little psychic cat. But then I changed it with Delphox, which is my current favorite Pokemon. I love its magician vibe, we could say, its lore, and I actually find it majestic. I know a lot of people hate Delphox, but I really love it because also I love Fox.
Yeah, I changed mine too because the first one was Lugia. It was Lugia for years, and it's the reason I got Soul Silver instead of Heart Gold. But then I changed it to Leafeon at some point, and then to Umbreon later on.
Shiny Umbreon is awesome.
So for me, I believe my first actual like favorite Pokemon would be Flygon. Before that, I just like really liked them all, or just didn't care about them at all. And I think really the movie, the Jirachi movie, where Flygon, for me at least, first appeared, really got me to love him. And then being unable to find him in Sapphire and Emeralds was really annoying. And then I saw other trainers use him, so I got really jealous. But I always really liked the Dragon type Pokemon, and then one day in like third grade, I had just joined a class halfway through the year, and the whole class didn't know me except for one thing about me, that I loved Pokemon. So for whatever reason, one day there was this figure of Latias in the classroom, and nobody knew where it came from. But they just decided like, hey, it's a Pokemon, let's give it to Dylan. And back at the time, I didn't really like know much about Latias. I watched the movie, but I preferred the Jirachi movie, and but it kind of was a foreshadowing for what was to come, because later on, around the time of ORAS, when they definitely when they announced the soaring mechanic, I fell in love with Latios and Latios. But Flygon and Latios are definitely still my favorites.
About Latios, you have to remember that there is the Latios used by Tobias in the Sinnoh League.
Yeah, that definitely was what because it was on TV, so I didn't feel all the episodes. I remember the Dark Ride. Don't remember actually seeing Latias.
Yeah, nobody expected that. Many people, I remember, thought that there was going to be a Generation 5 Pokemon, and then, oh, it's a Latios! And then, well,
Oh, I remember that. Pikachu beat the Latios.
yeah, of course, he had to lose to a Lat. Well,
Wait, did I say that Dragonair was beautiful?
No, he didn't.
Oh, well, now I said it.
So on to our next question. What is your favorite Pokemon game, and why is that so?
Soul Silver was my first, and it's still my favorite because you can visit 2 regions, you can walk with your Pokemon, and it just really, it's nostalgic to me.
X is my favorite because I like the environment, I like the story,
It's French.
and
I was about to say I feel a little favoritism from the French guy.
no, it's really not because it's set in France. It's just I like the places, the various cities.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah, I like how they each have their own identity.
Yeah, X and Y were really fun games for me as well. It got me back into Pokemon, but that's for a different story.
I think it's too easy, but I really like the cities around and the nature and just the layout. It's really beautiful. And it was the first 3D game, so that was pretty special.
Well then, I really love Crystal because it was the first game that I truly understood what I was doing. Also because I could play as a girl, which is something that I couldn't do in either red or silver. Also because I really love Suicune. I really love pursuing it and then catching it and then winning the league and well, all the rest. It was every time I play Crystal, I feel like a child again. It always brings me so many memories about my playthrough and everything. I really love that game. Otherwise, there is Pokemon Colosseum. That I love the story of Colosseum, the whole shadow Pokemon thing, and the more dark plot and everything else. So I got to say that both games are my favorite game.
If we are talking spin-offs and those side games, then I really love Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky because the story is really great and stuff.
Okay, I thought I was gonna be original and be the first to name a side game and say like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorer Sky is my favorite game ever out of everything. But okay, you guys both got ahead of me. But yeah, Explorers of Sky is definitely my favorite Pokemon game. But for main games, I have to pick Emerald. Mostly because, well, I played it a lot in my childhood. It's the first game I actually kind of understood what I was doing and managed to beat the league. And a lot of my favorite Pokemon are just in that game. Next to the Battle Frontier, which I loved hanging around in. So, we're already at our last question. And that is, what's your fondest memory playing Pokemon?
I think I brought a Dragonite in Black 2 up to level 100. It was the first Pokemon I got to level 100, I think. And I was never really good at leveling them up, so I just found rare candies when it was over 90. And I was really happy because it was big. It was huge. I don't know anything else except shinies, maybe.
I'm not really sure what my fondest memory is, to be honest. I remember playing Pokemon with a friend of mine, a certain Andrea, which is a boy though. And well, we used to do that in elementary school. We used to trade, cheat to get infinite candies, and then feed them to our water starter, my Blastoise and his Feraligatr, and then he used to, well, yeah, I remember him making many clones of Lugia, and I was, whoa, you have so many Lugia, how did you do that? And he showed me the trick. Yeah, that was a nice memory, I got to say. Well, of course, if cheating is something you like, of course.
For me, it definitely was the worst memory of Pokemon that turned into the best memory. About 2 years ago, when did Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire come out? Was it 2015 or 16?
Late to 2014.
Oh, 2014 already. Well, when the game released, I was super hyped. I bought Alpha Sapphire, played through it, and in the summer, while on summer vacation, I still was playing it. Then when I got home, it was gone. I just couldn't find my copy of Alpha Sapphire, and I was devastated. So in the end, I bought a new. Well, I didn't buy one, but my grandparents bought me a copy of Omega Ruby for my birthday, and so I booted up the game, and I was like, okay, I need to replay the game because I want to be able to play online again and have access to the whole game. So boot up the game, go to Birch to get my starter, and right there greets a shiny Mudkip me on my birthday. So that was definitely the worst and best memory I've ever had with Pokemon. And another story I can think of would be my Trapinch in Sun, where I basically had been searching for a Trapinch for 3 hours and just couldn't find one, and I was about to give up, and then I encountered a shiny one. Was not planning to get a shiny, but hey, I'll take it.
Oh, something like that happened to me in X. No, Y. I was looking for Trapinch, and then I found a shiny one, and it was the first shiny I've ever found and managed to catch, besides Gyarados.
Oh, I have like 20 Pidgeys from Route 3 of X and Y. I don't know why, but every Pidgey I encountered are shiny.
Yeah, I have really bad shiny luck.
I have both a good memory and a bad memory with shiny Pokemon. The bad memory was that I have found a shiny Girafarig in Silver once. And I had my own Girafarig. So my Girafarig was stronger and ended up knocking out the shiny Girafarig. And I was all, ah! But then I had a good memory. In Greenleaf, while I was looking for Raikou, I ended up finding a shiny Pidgey. And I was, whoa! I caught it immediately and evolved it into Pidgeot. It's one of my most prized Pokemon.
Well, I don't really have a special memory. I just play the game for the story and that's it. So, yeah, I like the story, but there's nothing that really stayed in my mind. And I'm a dolphin, I'm not a human.
There's nothing wrong with that. If somebody likes to just explore the game in a go, it's fine.
Yeah.
So you never had this one moment where you got the final crit on a gym leader and you won, where you were about to lose, or you found a shiny Pokemon, or never?
No, my crits only land when the opponent's Pokemon has 1 HP.
Oh.
I often have crits against me, not while I do them to them. I
Oh,
have
yeah.
to receive critical hit every time. And I was like, oh, ah! And it's annoying, frustrating, terrible, and everything else.
So for our last question, with all of this knowledge we have on the Pokemon games, and we've all been playing for quite a long time. Most of us have been playing since Gen 1, and Nono has been playing since, well, technically Gen 2, and really got into it in Gen 4. Yeah. How did you guys get into Bulbagarden?
Well, I saw Bulbagarden was hiring translators, so I was like, yeah, I can translate. So I applied and they took me. That's it.
For Bulba News.
Yeah, for Bulba News.
Oh, I knew about Bulbapedia, so I used that to find info about the game, but I didn't know they had a forums. And then I found out after a forum I used to be on got put down. So I went there and posted a bit and kind of left for a while and got back. And it just continued randomly like that, and I'd post art sometimes. Yeah.
Wait, they have a forum? Maybe I should check that out.
Saf, please.
Well, I'm not sure exactly how I managed to find the Bulba forum, to be honest. I remember knowing about the Bulbapedia because there was hold on, there was my bro who brought me my lunch, whatever. Okay, I was saying, yeah, I knew about the Bulbapedia first, then by going around the web casually, I found Bulba forum, and I say, oh, why not? I logged in, and then I just lurked most of the time.
Oh yeah, me too.
I wasn't much into forum, to be honest, as I am quite the reserved person. So I just read the people saying stuff, and then one day I say, let me join them, and well, here I am now.
Yeah, I was kind of scared to post at first because I wasn't fluent in English. I still am not fluent in English, and I was kind of afraid that I wouldn't fit in a way. But it worked out.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's it's a bit scary, we could say. Like you don't know how to blend in, how to break the ice. You have an idea how to start a conversation.
You don't know what to write, and if it's like you can't just join a conversation in a thread.
Yeah, I know. But what will everybody say if I newbie just jump in and they say, "Oh,
Yeah.
who's this random stranger who's talking right now?"
Yeah, exactly.
I had that mindset, but now I just talk normally. It's like nothing.
Yeah.
I actually came through a few other forums to the Bulbagarden forums. I already knew of the existence of Bulbapedia, and I used it from time to time if I had to look something up, usually through Google though. But I used to visit this forum where I played Mafia on, or well, we played with werewolves there. And then one day, the owner of Mafia Universe, the biggest Mafia forum, asked our forum, like, hey, you want to participate in a community game where we bring all kinds of forums together to play together? And I was like, sure, I'll join. And when I got there, I played with a few people from Bulbagar, and they were like, yeah, we're from this Pokemon forum. And I was like, whoa, Pokemon has forums? I should join one. I was like, hey, I'll join this Bulbagarden thing. So I joined Bulbagarden forums, started playing Mafia there, still am there now, and I think it took me like a year and a half to figure out that Bulbapedia and Bulbagarden forums were the same thing. But here I am now.
Yeah, we are all.
Here we are, everyone.
Yeah, I just checked. There really is a forum.
Oh, oh my God! There is a forum. Let me join. Wink, wink.
You also should join it. It's great.
Link in the description.
I have like 17 messages on that.
So, unless anyone else has anything to add, I think we've gone through all of our questions now. Thanks everyone for joining us, first of all. And thank you for watching, or well, listening, I should say. If you're watching this on YouTube, however, feel free to share your experience with Pokemon franchise in the description below, or in the comment section below. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you next time.
And that'll do it for this time. Thanks to everyone who participated in both parts of this podcast, and to Dylan for hosting the other conversation. I hope that you all enjoyed listening to this episode of Bulbacast, and if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to post a comment about your first game and favorite experiences with the Pokemon games. Until
Like, comment, and subscribe!
Yes, that's your job to do that. Until next time, guys. Bye.
To understand